Welcome to Charts Today. It is Monday, the 8th of June, and I have a busy week. I'm in Germany this week, giving training to the European Energy Exchange. So we start by looking at what's going on in the markets. This is a chart of the KOSPI in Korea. We can see here very big falls there today. And in fact, circuit breakers were broken just at the start of trading there. But so this is the 60-minute chart. We are at that move below the cloud. No clear downside targets there, but that just shows what's going on in Asia. And of course, Korea is a chip-laden economy with the likes of Samsung, and so we are seeing just that impact. And we had some pretty big falls on the Nasdaq late in the day on Friday. That's the daily chart. If we look at the 60-minute chart for the Nasdaq, you can see here, similar to that KOSPI chart, we've fallen through. That downside target was given in the afternoon. Well, the morning in the US, that downside target was given and was met that day, so on Friday. So we are below the cloud, short-term bearish, and we'll look at the constituents in a minute. But coming back to sort of the main markets, first of all, looking at the dollar, we are seeing a sort of risk off trade. We are seeing the dollar looking stronger on that. We've got, of course, the Middle East situation starting to flare up again. That means that crude oil is stronger. We've already put our report out to clients this morning on crude oil. And so that is looking, again, we had this downward trend on the 60-minute, but now we're in this sideways range. A break back above 100 would certainly be bearish, I'd say bullish. And if we look at WTI, we've got an upside target there. We went out for our morning call report as bullish on gas and oil, so looking pretty strong there. Coming back to currencies, because of that dollar strength, we are seeing weakness. The really big one is the Japanese yen. We are above the 160 level there. That's on the short-term chart. We have been as high as 160.40 this morning. No big surprises to see Japanese intervention. We're going to see a similar move probably as the one we saw back in at the end of April. This 160 level is scary for Japan. So on currencies, Bitcoin, we were bearish. We have made new lows on Bitcoin below 60,000. And if we look at the 60-minute chart, we do have some new upside targets, 2 activated, 1 activated, crossing back above the cloud. But that is going to be a counter trend move. It'll be a brave trader that takes that. So we are seeing bearishness there. Now, all eyes on the Nasdaq today. We are seeing the future in the S&P up and the Nasdaq up. After big falls on Friday, it has to be said. So we are just seeing a recovery there, but not so much in Europe. UK down 0.5%, DAX in Germany down 1%, and Japan down 2.6%. So we're seeing moves across the board there. The Sensex in India down 0.75%. That downside target activated. The Aussie market closed for the King's birthday celebration today, so nothing there. Looking at gold, we can see here that is looking pretty bearish, down 1%, and silver. So if we close at these levels on gold today, that would be really significant. That would be like a 6-month closing low. So we do need to watch that. And of course, the short-term chart has targets. That target given last week on the 3rd, which was Wednesday, downside target given and nearly met. There were more downside targets as well, of course. So that's really quite interesting. Again, even though we're seeing the risk trade not happening in the gold price. Now, looking at bond yields, we're seeing markets climbing here. Japan back to pushing higher again. That will be very worrying for Japan. US also, having put in this low point, we're now pushing again. And if we look at the 10-year gilt in the UK, we're seeing here, again, having formed a bottom there, we're back to nudging that 5% level pretty soon. And Germany is still looking pretty worrying as well, with multiple upside targets. So there's no escaping this. Bond markets are looking pretty poor across the board. Now, if we look at some of the tech stocks, we can see basically the Mag 7, the really badly hit ones were Nvidia and Tesla and Meta, all down about 6% on Friday. So Amazon was down 3%, but we're seeing there's some bearish reaction. Of course, we've got the SpaceX launch this week. That's a lower high, lower low for Tesla, so that's going to be quite interesting. Lagging line still really below the cloud, looking a bit more and more like a failed recovery. Nvidia, although we've pushed to new highs, we've got a new downside target, so that's a more mixed picture. If we look at the 60-minute chart, we can see the downside target's dominant there, lower high, lower low, not a great pattern, and below the cloud. Looking at the Dow 30, where was the strength? The strength was mostly in defensives on Friday. We look at Procter & Gamble, Coke, but these charts are still bearish charts. Coke is not looking so bad there. Travelers looking still pretty good, waiting for a breakout. McDonald's, not a great looking chart, bearish below the cloud with downside targets. So that really provides little respite. If we look at the Nasdaq, we had some very big moves on Friday. Not many moves to the upside, but to the downside, chips really badly hit. So here we had Micron down 13%. So you can see there really a big move off the top. That has had an incredible run. Looking at the 60-minute chart, we still had upside targets, not a lot higher, but now a downside target kicking in as well. So really quite key there. The FTSE this morning, as we saw, the index was down. Only a handful of stocks are up. Oil's up, no big surprises there, and some pretty big falls, but nothing on the scale of what we saw on the Nasdaq. That's it for today. I'm flying to Berlin tomorrow very early in the morning. I'll do my best to record this before I fly. Until tomorrow, happy charting. Bye for now.